you know how you know that you're old? When you can now get pretty much all the statistics that you see when the pros play on TV with your phone. I'm talking about the Swingvision app, and literally the technology has evolved in a way that is unbelievable. This here was the technology when I played. So there was no such thing of, oh, I'll just throw up the camera on a tripod real quick and I get all the statistics within the snap of my fingers here. That didn't exist. Handheld cameras were monstrosities like that. What I'm going to show you today in the review is how I use it as a coach. There are many more functions, but you can pretty much do it all. You can record singles matches, doubles matches, just singles rallies, double rallies. You can record yourself taking serves, playing on the ball machine, and immediately you are getting statistics that you can use to track your progress. When I played, a lot of times when you kind of judged your matches or your performance, it was more like, meh, I felt like. And we all know that we're not always the fairest when it comes to remembering how we play. Now, not only do you have the visual proof in the footage that you've taken, but you also have the numbers. So you can create an environment where you can absolutely track your progress. And to me, as a coach, that is absolutely vital for my players. So after you watch the review, click on the link in the description below and start your 30-day free trial. And then you're also getting $20 off the annual fee. And I don't think I'm exaggerating when I'm saying this would have made me a better player. Because for me, it was always incredibly hard to get any footage at all. I didn't play on show courts most of the time, so there was no camera. And as I said, it was super time consuming to get any kind of data. And you definitely not ever got it in as many facets as when you're just now using your phone. So when you're done, click on the link below. So now let's get going with the review. So let's get started with what you will see when you are first opening your app. So we are in the subsetting here of track. So the very first thing that I would suggest that you are going on is the setup you are recording. And what that does is it gets you to another video here that is really simple and that helps you set up your phone properly, because you do want to make sure that you have the proper angles so that the app can properly function. Now, I do have both the QM1 fence mount and just a regular 60-inch or actually 72-inch tripod. I found that I don't really need the fence mount because it does really well with just using the tripod, and that is way easier for me to just throw up in a lesson and put the camera on it and then just start recording. So what I do is I record my footage and then I import it. You can immediately start recording in the app. If you click on record, you can then figure out what activity you have. So for instance, what I use it a lot for is just simply rallying, because I really don't play matches anymore. But what you can do, of course, is record an entire match, however long it is. You will then compress the whole thing and condense it down, and the app will cut out all unnecessary footage. And I'll talk about that in a second a little bit more. So again, I am choosing most of the time singles rally, and what you're then doing is once you click on that, you see all of this fancy schmancy stuff, and it literally walks you through how to set up your phone. So you see what is perfect, what you want, and how high it is. And when you're then getting out on the court, it will literally help you, walk you through all the little steps. So that was really helpful, especially all this stuff here, when you want to record things right in the app. As I said, I have found it easier to just throw up a tripod, put the camera on, and just let it run and then later import it. But you will have the same result. Now, the other things that you can do that I think are really, really great are serve practice, and I'll show you some footage there, and then the ball machine practice, because usually we have so many issues getting any statistics. Even when I have a partner here, you can now get some really good stats on things that you can do by yourself. So you can do whole singles matches, already mentioned that, and then you can also do doubles matches. You can just do doubles rallies. And that is definitely one thing that I need to use a lot more, because that is where a lot of my clients have trouble. Now, another couple of features that I think are very valuable, again, for when you are by yourself. Just a ton of drills, suggestions that you can do by yourself. And then you also have options to use the app for certain activities where you're not even on the court, you're just reacting. And that is a cognitive exercise series here that I think is pretty valuable. And then of course you have your learn from the pros. I do have to admit I have not looked into that because I don't need that. That's not what I want to use this app for. But let's go back to the next step. I have now recorded my footage. I have now imported it, and I'm now going into the me section. So tons of things up here. Again, really great. Other tutorials. You can put notifications in. Another feature that I have not used as much, because obviously I'm not using this app as a consumer, but more of a coach where I have different objectives. But what I do like is, especially again, if you have a lot of issues finding partners, you can set your own goals and just hold yourself accountable that way. So you can set them for different time frames, and you can have different scenarios on what you want to train. And that is something that I definitely have to start looking into a little bit more and help clients use their app better. But I think that is great, because a lot of us like using apps with reminders and just motivational things. So what I want to show you, what I use the app the most, is to simply show my clients what they're actually doing. So before we go into other things, you can see that the app has already created a lot of options for you. So for instance, if you want to look at your own forehands and forehands only, you've got this tab here. You just click on it and you're seeing only forehands. And you notice that all the editing has been done already. And to me, that is really, really valuable, because I do spend a lot of time doing videos with my clients, and just having this cut out is a really, really good feature of this app. So of course, if I wanted to look more onto something that my client is doing, I would flip him and have him, of course, on the near side. And then there's a few other already preset features. For instance, the longest rallies or 5 most tiring rallies, and you can just click through them that way. Now, if I'm just swiping here to the left, I am now seeing my own placement of the shots. The goal of the hitting session with my client yesterday was for us to keep the ball deeper than the service line. And I can now say, yep, we pretty much did that. And that is a good thing. Now I can switch this from the balls that I hit into my client's court. And I'm just tapping here on my opponent. And then I see the depth of his shots. And then you see that there's maybe a teens bit more variety, but that hopefully is to be expected if somebody hits with a coach. The other thing that you can see is the hitting position. And that means where you actually made contact with the ball. Again, we're looking at my client. If I'm clicking over here, I can now see where I hit the balls. And it really depends, of course, what your objectives are. For instance, you could work on taking the ball earlier, and you're just taking a baseline of that for about 2-3 minutes. And then you record a second piece, and you would try to take the balls a little bit more inside the court, and you compare those two. So we're now on the actual recording. So what you're seeing is exactly where the placement is, you see what type of shot has been hit, and you see the pace. Now for me, it's all about placement here. So this here is not quite as important for me, but I know that it is for a lot of people, and it is actually kind of fun to mess around with that every now and then. Now, more features. On the top left here, you see the number of rallies. So in the 7 minutes, however long the original footage was, we had a total of 18 rallies. And everything that was not relevant to the rallies, for instance, me getting balls, or moving a ball out of the way, or if you record matches and you have those taped, it cuts out the sit down time on the changeover. You get the actual playing time. And that is super, super important for me because, as I said, I am spending a lot of time editing, and this makes my life a lot easier. So now we've moved on to the second rally. I can do this flipping around between rallies, double tapping on the right. So you saw the next rally there, or then going back to one, double tapping again on the left. Then I have options when the app actually mislabels something. Every now and then, this thing is not perfect. And it could be that it calls a backhand topspin a backhand flat, for instance. Again, is that really that instrumental to it? Probably not, but you could. A few other things that I do think are really important are filters. So you can now filter your results by most tiring, longest, and what I like a lot is the favorited. But let's say I want to point out something really specific to my client. What I simply do is I click the little favorite icon, and boom, I've done that. So let's say I see some really good stuff. That is the footage that I want my client to see. I've got that in my favorite folder. Then I'm just interrupting this here. And now you see that we have a different tab. And if I click that now, I have only one rally. The one rally that I wanted to have as a favorite, and I can now send that to my client. By just making that heat map disappear, I can click on this. I can either just share a link so that my client just taps on it and just watches that, or I can also export the video, and that's what I'm doing because I want to use the footage for a lot of things that I do either on Instagram or for whatever it's going to be that I'm using. But this is really cool. That is the part that I like the most, and that is the main reason why I'm using this app, because again, I can now share things with my clients, because what I have found is oftentimes that clients really, really like to see proof of what they have been doing or what they have not been doing. A few other things that you can do is, for instance, you can manipulate the speed. You can go real slow if you're going into real tactical analysis. So if I were to now look at how am I taking my racket back on the forehand and how am I jamming myself on it, I could show myself that I just ran into the ball here a little bit because it's slowed down, and I can then speed it up to regular speed again. So that was how you manipulate the actual video. So if we scroll down here, more stats coming up. And this is something really, really important to me, because as a player, I remember that I oftentimes did not necessarily believe what my coaches were telling me. Here, if you use these stats, you can really compare yourself from lesson to lesson, match to match, whatever it is. So for instance, if we had said, okay, Andy and I are rallying for 2 minutes and we're trying to hit the balls deeper than the service line and of course in the court. We can now go to, okay, we got 89% of the shots in and 83% of the shots are beyond the service box, are deeper than the service box. If we do this again the next week, we have numbers that we can compare. You can then further break this down into cross-court forehands, and then the same on the backhands. How many backhands did I get in? So on and so forth. And again, if I'm clicking on this one here, I am seeing this is Andy, and this here was me, the player. You can, by the way, name the player, so you're not just player and opponent. You can also have that here in a pie chart, which shot distribution it was, how many forehands, how many backhands, and then also the spin. And that is what I said in the beginning. Every now and then, to my mind, the app has it not quite correct, but it really is mostly, is it a flat or really is it a topspin shot? Again, it's not the most important part, but if you feel it is, you can correct every single shot. Then here you have your average and your max, and it is literally every single shot. I always try to encourage my clients to go out and practice serves. And a lot of times it is, well, difficult to keep track of things. And that is why Swingvision is such a great tool. So just to show you what I did, I went out, served 14 serves, and you can look right away at the statistics when you scroll further down a little bit. So this is definitely a statistic that tells me that I need to go out more and practice my serve, if I could do that with my shoulder. But what you also see is the speed of each serve again. You see your average and you see your max. And then you also see the distinction between the flat serves and the slice serves. And what I was trying to do was to hit the T. And then if I go more into detail here, you see the placement of the ones that I made were okay. However, the ones that I missed, not so great. What you then can do is, when you click on the play button here, of course, you can do the same thing that you did with all the other shots. You can filter them. So if I want to feel a little bit better about myself, I go to results and filter just the ones that I got in. And I'm clicking done here, clicking done on top there, and then yay, I see the 6 serves that I made again. Not a great statistic, but all good. And then what I can do, of course, same thing here, is I can slow it down. Just click through the shots by double tapping here, either on this side or this side. So this helps me right away when I'm looking at videos a little bit slower. I can really analyze what I did or I didn't do.